Pandemonia 1. An empty seat no longer signifies Christ dropping by for dinner's late. It's no paregoric, assuaging the vegetal love. The seeds are cut loose, and like a 20-year light bulb, the concept of poetry is not poetic. The table clothes itself demurely. I didn't make out what you were getting at there. The subtext gradually acclimatizes. The subdialect of din, or parietal rubbing of conflicting loin cloths, making loving gestures at the plastic slab for Christ's sake, an absent member like the hand you gorily placed on my thigh. Master, I was thinking of the situation in the melting pot and the failure of envy to explain the current bread allergies, perigal to perhaps a lawyer in mufti. I didn't make out what you were saying. You'll have to repeat it. Could you go over that one more time? If I could just hear it again from the top. I'll get it right this time. I just missed a bit, ever since you said listen carefully. I am paying attention, all too much for my money. I don't see what you're getting at. There's no use getting hot under the collar. 2. Rouge Valley and whining, lace collars or a doily, keeping coffee and dust off the TV set, and wait for the eggs to set in the custard, bored, perhaps, maybe, an overextended paunch, and 5 visits a week to a therapist, specialist. Sounds like nougat. The use of a food processor to write poetry. Difficulty is such a pretentious word. How about with the court jester, wearing me down, folly and the ice. Caps aren't worn anymore for Jewish ceremonies, intermarriage, class miscegenation. For a convert is easier than propaganda. I wanted to kill the badge salesman. He could have bit the children, as I was saying. It was a release to write it down, exploring the relations between us. A tooth aches and the gums are like draperies you vacuum behind once a month or so. Spinozist, without leavened bread to make up the difference. Playing cards in the mall of certainty. No cars allowed, only below and around, like ideology or cake frosting. A certain chilliness sets in as an hitherto avoided topic, namely the aforementioned games is mentioned, seeking redress for imagined rights, and the level best is done on talk. 3. Radio shows me what I didn't already know. Dicey that, rather like a tunnel in the prison camp. Who's to blame? Our duty to have toes. Step up the beat. Serve your friends without prejudice. A dictation. Session X pans to an entire nation. Its ire over the gaming table. The nap is brushed, really like a cat eating its young for nugatory matters like this. It's best. No, I don't like it. There's so much more to go into. He's avoiding the entire issue, of course. The inaccessibility of the topic is paramount for me. It goes all over the place. There's no control in terms of a definite plan or agenda. She's only in it for her own ego. You have to mistrust these kinds of actions. Where's the intent? What is it? The approach is also elitist. It's political. There's the whole question of modesty, of not being cruel, just passing the buck as usual. It could take place anywhere on the table you want, but you don't get it's not harmonious. For instance, not suited to the decor of such a Renault. On a bus, the plastic can be placed over the food, ensures its motility, a variant of the tofu container gambit, but then if you were to arrange for the first option, you couldn't reach both buttons at the same time yourself and see what you mean. Yeah, it's all a matter of Mockingbird Hill. 4. And dumping the seeds, not lounging sickly for a Mr. Christie biscuit. Pigeon droppings, bye for now. Dining's in the kitchen later. See you later. Ladder? It's a sort of paragmenon we'd rather not think about. Why the fuck not? Just a feeble anodyne for the mention of poetry, a pain in the butt. But see what happens when you're too much the class, cut up, leaving a loser for a light evening of Toffel music and naked women. But don't let's, aren't, can't, didn't, won't, shouldn't, or hadn't, mayn't, tis, twould, shan't anymore. Anyway, there's a sexual dimension to contractions, to contracts, to contest, to cons, to continue the graduated culture of a intellectual was discussing subway manufacture, a loud noise, or a noisy cloud. Fairly soon dims our appreciation of the pavior, removing the tarmac without a jack, hammer rubs me the wrong ray, and at last making love without chastity interfering, as it were, Gerald Malanga, the aunt's forefoot. The dress I wore for my christening has fit many generations since, even though I wasn't there and I'm a declared aesthetician. But the brothers' hands are gnarled and appropriate to the monastic lifestyle, if you can call such a humble calling a lifestyle. The main problem with the situation being its refusal of the elegiac for the panegyric. 5. Like I was saying, the cars around the mall don't represent the people in there. They're their dunked skins, the syllogistic as all get out, since the get-go, or even at sunset for instance, the noisy crowd, and I'm in the mob of declined aesthetes, eating our way up Yonge Street for playing the music we want and none other, closely, matter and forget it. Crucial to the whole discussion, malice and a blunt man hitting us over the Irish Sea. I didn't stand you flong, can make ode a heroic stature, no doubt, any table you want. Don't get it, it's hitting below the belt, a lot of sound and fur, significant, nothing, moan, rubbing in the lotion or ointment, just for the sake of lessening pain. Correct, like the categories of Rosie, crew cut, she and I both look more masculine. Bungalow, Jim, off, eel, dim the writing reflex, a distinction in a custard bowl. 6. Seems so self-centered. Have you given it any concern? Or are you better, a different use of any, suited to the practical matters of commerce and prose? Pose for the camera, not the other way around. Nails not quite long enough to remove anything from the parietal concerns. Me, a taxing removal, accompanying the best intentioned and less endowed youth, malingering men in suits me find. Sung, periodontal. The radios listen to us as if we were not Korean, but we're curious, we're incredulous. Real question. How can you be thinking of extending the deadline any further? I'm up to my neck in flesh, and it keeps peaking in the old style of Morony. But if the wooden slats and assenting ashtrays were to for once bite their tongue, no, you do it. Should I pay or should I steal? It's possible they're not mutually exclusive, but you're lying at that point, as we, Cohen's Rosicrucians, all now at the liquor store in the Comox Valley Mall, the beers stacked with great precision on cardboard genres. that alleviates stress on the buying public, thereby instantiating the infinity of the face qua cartoon dog, remaindering a done sound tincture. Poltergeists aren't tuned into things. The concept of poetry isn't sweet. The true idea and woman doesn't include the number 20. 7. But this is a kind of crass misrecognition to see the TV converter as a queasy way of popping off people, like the badge of honor for any self-respecting con man is how many police officers, right-wing colonizing trips to Bosnia, the relations between you and I are less like an extracted tooth than how bad I clean house, the similarity in the heat of the argument between philosophy, poetry, and housework is filling my head with a nonsense. Clannish, no matter, dull leads, volleyball and fuzzy edges, pelts of handsome croupiers, human garbage pails, vampires pasty-eyed, getting goyim to be categorical law. Yours allege much, allegiance none. Peer pressure of the realm, in sense. Voided in the toothpick, piles up in the harbor. In a game of crud, a UFO lands and we fight to give it tourist brochures, and smart drugs turn us into fish and chip shops of a sort you'd expect to see in a grocery store where the ladies giving out bits of sausage from an electric frying pan.